The position that you have your hips and your pelvis in when you do your front side compression postures has so much to do with your ability to access a normal breath and breathe normally and breathe comfortably. Hi everybody, Janelle here, New Standard Yoga and Fitness Center opening up in Caloundra later this year. I wanted to discuss today and share with you a few tips that I have about how you can really reposition where the hips and the pelvis sit when you do a lot of these front side compression postures. And we're going to work on one specific one today from standing up, called standing separate leg head to knee. The reason why this is important is because the idea behind this posture is not to, or any front side compression posture, is not to hold the breath, restrict the breath, and over-tense the abdominal area and really make the posture stressful. That is really the opposite of what we're looking to do. There will inherently be a certain degree of intensity, and yes, there is a level of stress that the body will take on board when you do these postures, but what we're looking to do is to decrease that and minimize that as much as possible. Oftentimes when we get into these front side compressions, it can be really hard for us to breathe because the body is in a different position. We're also trying to shorten the distance between the pubic bone and the forehead, or really round and curl through the front side of the body. And what ends up occurring is that we overcompress and overtense. We overtense the muscles through the abdominal area, which means that we're putting all the breath into the chest, which then brings about a certain stress and a certain level of tension in the posture that really isn't necessary. So we'll work on our standing separate leg stretching pose today as an example, and I'll give you a couple of different things that you can work on that will help to really eliminate or decrease over time the restriction of breathing. And this is really has a lot to do with where you're placing your pelvis and your hips in this particular posture, which will really influence how you can breathe. So we're going to start with the hips facing. You can go to either side. So I'm going to be facing my left side, and you're going to open up the distance between the front foot and the back foot, so it's actually quite wide apart, okay? And you can line everything up, but I find it's a lot easier and a little bit more sort of open for the hips to open up. So the left foot goes a little bit to the left, and the right foot goes out a little bit to the right. You want to have a big, wide, comfortable stance. Try to avoid having it too short, okay? And what we're going to do is bring the arms up over the head, and we're going to round and curl in, trying to bring the forehead onto the knee. So from here, the arms can go up however you feel comfortable, up through the middle or out. I'm going to take mine out the sides, and I'm just going to place my hands, palms together, and I'm going to cross my thumbs. Really be sure that you lengthen up as opposed to sinking back here. So that ensures that you're pushing the back heel down, which gives you a rebounding effect of really lifting up out of the waist. So this is your starting position. You might even spend a couple of moments here just really getting the feeling of the feet down into the ground, the lift, that bounding down through the back heel, which gives you a rebound and a lengthening up through the chest. And from that point, you're going to start to tuck your chin into your chest and round and curl in. So I'm going to show you the first way, and what I'm going to show you is that the hips are going to move out of the way in order to bring the head down onto the knee. So the hips will come out of alignment, the pelvis and the orientation of where this area of my body is will go back, and that often is the case if we're not really aware of this area. What happens then when we attempt to touch the forehead on the knee is that we're really over-compressing through the abdominal region in an unnatural way. So we're going to teach you how to do it in a bit more of a natural way, a bit more of an organic process by simply changing the position of the hips. So oftentimes this is what happens. We start up nice and tall, nice and long. We reach the fingers and we exhale, round in, and my hips, you can see this point of my hip, it will start to not only travel back, but it will also twist out to the side. So turn and twist out to the side, and then I'll end up bringing my head on my knee here.
So here, this is, fairly easy, no problem for me because I've done this before, but this isn't necessarily the way that we want the posture to look, number one, anatomically, and physiologically, this isn't really the effect that we want to have. We want to square up the hips, and we want to start bringing the pubic bone towards the forehead. But right now, my pubic bone is going back because I'm avoiding this compression. What ends up happening is that we over-tense in the throat, and we start to pull the belly in a little bit too much, and this really makes it hard for us to breathe. So we're down here in the posture, we're not aligned, number one, we're having a hard time breathing, number two, we're getting stressed out, we're feeling annoyed, we're feeling over it, we want to get out of the posture, and we label the posture as being something that either A, we can't do, B, it doesn't work for us, or C, we just, give up altogether, and we don't really want to put any more effort into it. So we're going to try and watch the hips, the placement of the hips, as we go down, and it's really about going down very, very slowly and making almost like a ratchet, little movements with the hips, not just bringing the hips in alignment, but also scooping a little bit under. So the tailbone is down and long, like there's a tail tucking in between your legs, okay? So, taking your stance, inhale, sweep the arms up, push down through the back heel, lift up through the front ribs and the front abdomen, and then exhale, start to round your spine, gaze into your navel, and pause there. So we haven't even gone a fourth of the way down yet. You're going to push down through your back heel so that your right hip comes forward, and you're going to again think of scooping like a tail dropping down in between the legs. Exhale, round and come forward the next little bit, then stop there. So we still haven't made it where we're sort of halfway here. Push down through the back right heel to bring your right hip forward and scoop the tail under. Exhale, round and come in a couple of inches deeper. Stop. Do the same thing again. Push the back heel down to bring the right hip forward and scoop the hips underneath. Just taking a quick pause. Okay, you can see at my right hip, it hasn't gone as far back as it did the first time that I did this. I'm really consciously keeping it forward so that this naturally creates a drawing in of the belly without having to overdo it. I can still talk, I can still breathe, and I'm still using what I need to use to round and curl pubic bone into the forehead. So from here, you can start to come all the way down and just keep that right hip forward. The hips tucked underneath the pubic bone forward. Squeeze the forehead into the knee. Whenever you need to, you can start to bend your front knee. If you don't need to, then you just simply place the forehead on the knee and keep the hips forward. Keep the chin to the chest. Keep reaching the fingers beyond the toes, and you should be able to breathe normally. Watch the breathing. Forehead to the knee. As you come up, do the same thing. Push down this time through your front left foot. Inhale, hips forward. Pubic bone forward. Nice and slowly coming up. Stretch up tall. Take a deep inhale breath. And then you can relax. So, there's a couple of things that you want to pay attention to as you're going into that. Things that are really important to be able to, again, make sure that you aren't in the posture, or the reverse of that, which would be holding the breath, tightening the abdominal muscles so much because you're trying so hard to get the forehead to the knee that you can't actually breathe at all, and that becomes stressful in itself as well. Try to realign those hips so that the back heel is pushing that hip forward, and you're getting a little bit of a slight tuck under, thinking of the tail dropping down between the legs and sort of curving through, and then just go in stages, little by little by little. Once you get down to the bottom, again, do the same thing. It will be harder to keep the hips in their placement as you get deeper into your posture. But try not to sacrifice that, because what will happen is the hips will come out of alignment, and then you'll really struggle to get the chin into the chest, which will then cause you to restrict your breathing. Breathe with ease.
Test yourself. Do it on your own time. Can you talk? Can you breathe? Are you maybe sucking the belly in too much? If the abdomen is drawing in too much and activating too much, this really does prevent our ability to breathe naturally and breathe normally. I will do a video on this with more content and more information coming soon. Try this, give it a try, and let me know how it's felt for you. Give any sort of feedback or any additional comments based upon this. Let me know. It will be a much more precise and dynamic posture. You might have to peel it back a few layers in terms of your depth in order for you to move forward in the therapy that you're receiving, especially for you to be able to learn to access your normal breath, okay? Give it a try. Let me know. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, and I'll see you next time.